Have you ever noticed how your depth unsettles others? How the more you think, the more distant you seem to become. Your silence, your clarity, your refusal to play along with shallow expectations. These things are often mistaken as arrogance or coldness, especially by those who crave surface-level comfort. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "People demand freedom of speech as a compensation for the freedom of thought which they seldom use." But you think. And in today's world, that's exactly what makes you dangerous. You're not threatening because of aggression or dominance. You're threatening because you are unpredictable. And in a world addicted to predictability, where routine equals safety, the man who questions becomes a problem. Modern relationships are rarely built on truth. They are built on convenience. But you peel back the illusions. You see the difference between love and performance. And in doing so, you disrupt a system that thrives on emotional obedience. Women don't fear intelligent men because they are smart. They fear them because they cannot control them. You don't flatter to be loved. You don't perform to feel masculine. You don't chase illusions. You see too clearly. And when you love, it is not for validation, but revelation. That clarity, that radical honesty is rare. And what is rare is often rejected before it is respected. Kierkegaard spoke of despair not as sorrow, but as a disconnection from the self. A man unaware that he is playing a role, hiding behind a mask, becomes a slave to that role. But the conscious man, the one who dares to think, to observe, to detach from applause, he is free. And freedom, in a society built on manipulation, is the most dangerous trait of all. Have you ever wondered why your presence makes others uncomfortable? Why your silence is met with suspicion? Most people build their identity on being seen, but you build yours on seeing. And seeing, truly seeing, exposes what others try desperately to hide. That is why your depth feels like confrontation, even when you say nothing. Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." The intelligent man lives forward, yet never stops observing. He studies the machinery behind seduction, emotion, power, dissecting everything. And when he stops being seduced by appearances, when he ceases to play along, he becomes unplayable. In a culture that confuses chaos with passion and unpredictability with depth, the intelligent man is an anomaly. He doesn't fall for emotional volatility. He seeks alignment, not entertainment. And because he can't be manipulated through drama, he is dismissed as distant or cold. But what he truly is, what you are, is whole. Most people don't want truth. They want reinforcement of their illusions. But the intelligent man carries with him a rare form of presence, one that dismantles illusion wherever it goes, especially in love. For him, love is not a game or a performance. It is sacred, clear, demanding, and deeply alive. Kierkegaard called this radical clarity the leap of faith, the choice to abandon comfort and roles and walk alone, if that's what truth requires. The intelligent man knows this solitude well. He walks away, not because he lacks feeling, but because his feeling is too expansive to be reduced to a role. Men, listen carefully. The more intelligent you become, the more isolated you may feel. But that is not a failure. It is the price of awareness. You scare people because you cannot be conditioned. You cannot be bought with comfort or applause. And a man who can't be bought can't be controlled. Most people are not looking for connection. They're looking for utility. They want you to be useful, a provider, a performer, a puppet. But you've stepped out of those frames. And when you do, you become invisible to those who only know how to see roles. But this invisibility is not a curse. It is a sign of liberation. As you continue walking this path, your solitude will deepen, but so will your selfhood. You'll no longer seek validation from those who misunderstand you. You'll stop apologizing for your standards. You'll stop diluting your presence to fit in. You'll simply be whole, rooted, unwavering. And that wholeness is a revolution. In relationships, your clarity will confuse those who rely on emotional games. Your refusal to chase will feel like rejection. Your ability to listen without reacting will unsettle. But you must not shrink. You must not soften your edge to be more acceptable. Because truth is not here to entertain. It's here to transform. The intelligent man does not love in order to be loved. He loves because he sees. He sees beyond the persona, beyond the flattery, beyond the performance. He wants intimacy that's real, not exciting, steady, not dramatic. And when he finds it, it's because he has met someone who has faced her own truth. You will be called difficult, distant, arrogant. But you're none of those things. You are clear. And clarity has always frightened the world because it cannot be manipulated. And that is what makes you dangerous, not to women, not to people, but to systems that rely on keeping men fragmented and compliant. Kierkegaard said, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." And this is the root of the intelligent man's suffering. Not his lack of belonging, but his refusal to pretend. You've stopped playing the roles others are desperate to assign you. And in doing so, you've become the mirror that reflects their unchosen life back at them. That's why they flinch. Not because you hurt them, but because you remind them of the truth. You want to terrify a room? Don't raise your voice. Don't chase attention. Simply exist with purpose. Speak only when needed. Say what you mean. Be kind without being compliant. Set boundaries without apology. This stillness, this control, it unsettles people more than any outburst ever could, because it reveals what they lack: center, silence, sovereignty. Intelligent men aren't performing. That's their secret. They don't seek applause. They don't sell their essence for comfort. And because they don't perform, they are dangerous in a world that thrives on distraction. Most people cannot sit in silence without feeling empty. But you've made silence your home. You've made presence your power. Labels are how society tames those it cannot understand. Is he cold? No, he's composed. Is he arrogant? No, he has self-respect. Is he distant? No, he's discerning. But labels make it easier for the world to dismiss your depth without having to face its own shallowness. Don't be disturbed by their labels. Let them reveal more about them than about you. You weren't made to be palatable. You weren't made to be everyone's comfort zone. You were made to embody what modern culture has forgotten: truth. And sometimes, truth walks alone. But solitude isn't your enemy. It's the proving ground where your strength, clarity, and calling are forged. Kierkegaard lived this solitude, misunderstood, ridiculed, and yet unwavering. He walked away from the love of his life, not because he didn't care, but because his path required undivided truth. That's your challenge now, to choose the harder path if it keeps your soul intact. To be true, even when it costs you comfort. If you're still looking to the crowd for validation, you've already lost yourself. Real power doesn't come from applause. It comes from silence, from the quiet conviction that you don't need to be chosen to be whole, from the knowledge that your life is aligned not with trends, but with truth. The more rooted you become, the more others will try to shake you. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of everything they abandoned. Their fire, their depth, their soul. Especially in love, this shows up. Most people think they want truth, but they really want safety. You offer truth, and that makes you unpredictable. You're not romanticizing chaos. You're not seduced by highs and lows. You crave alignment. And when you find a woman who understands that, you won't have to perform. You'll just be. But even if she never comes, you won't be waiting in desperation, because you've learned to walk whole, whether alone or not. Your solitude is not sorrow, it's sanctuary. Your questions are not weakness, they are fire. Your clarity is not rejection, it is resonance. And when you meet someone who doesn't flinch from your silence, who sees you and stays anyway, it won't be a fairy tale. It will be truth meeting truth. You will not be for everyone, but for the rare few who recognize you, your presence will be unforgettable. You won't be cheered by the many, but you will be respected by the real. And most importantly, you'll respect yourself. In the quiet, in the choices, in the moments where you walked away, not out of pride, but out of integrity. If you've come this far, you're already awakening. You've felt the ache, the silence, the misinterpretation, and yet you're still standing. Clearer, deeper, more sovereign. You don't chase love, you embody it. You don't beg for peace, you become it. You've stopped outsourcing your identity, and that is the beginning of true freedom. Kierkegaard once wrote, "The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all." That's what's happened to most men. They've lost themselves while trying to be accepted. You've stopped pretending. You've chosen the storm if that's what it takes to remain whole. This path is not easy. It strips you, it isolates you, but it also awakens you. And when you no longer flinch from your own depth, you become the kind of man the world desperately needs and fears. Not because you are loud, but because you are unshakably alive. If this message echoed something inside you, don't let it end here. Share it with someone still in the fog. Subscribe for more truths they'll never teach in school. Because this is not just content, it's resistance. And your mind, your voice, your presence, they matter more than you've been told.